experienced before, but if not. So, Manu, we're just having a conversation before we begin, and join in when you can. Go ahead, Fred or Joe. Who was talking?
I was asking
Okay.
Fred a question
Yes.
about whether he was describing his idea of that we are here to learn something. Um, is that uh, you know, is he taking an existential approach, or is it the idea that purpose is inherent?
I think purpose is chosen.
By
It's
the actor?
before before you come in, before you choose, before as a being, at some moment you choose to experience a physical life, and then at the moment you choose to experience that physical life, you also decide or determine what is it you need. Why is it for what reason you're going to experience that, and that defines your purpose.
Okay, I think I get it. I mean, I've been playing around with this model very, very much a lot lately. And it's has direct, a direct impact on the idea of understanding. So the whole concept of, do we experience something, then reason? And you could say we learn, then we reason, and experience and learn you can use interchangeably. And then, or do we reason, then learn?
I think it's
And,
both. I think it's both.
well, it is both.
Let's
I mean,
say
it's just like
the
what
start of the
comes first. It
discussion,
can't be
the
both
start of
at the
this,
same time.
the start of the discussion was, and I say part of it for Richard that just arrived, and for the video that just started. It came from grief, and I said grief comes in waves, and then
Oh, I see.
and then Stephen mentioned the ocean, and then I recited what was my takeaway. I think last Wednesday, or maybe I think last Wednesday, which was at some moment during her illness, Lucy told me she was working on returning to the source. And then I said, somehow the drop is returning to the ocean. And then she looked at me and then she said, the ocean is in the drop. So that's how the discussion started. And then Steve mentioned something that made me say, I'm not my body, I'm not even my mind, because Steve, what was your question, Steve? You asked whether, why do some people uh, amalgamate their being, their physical body, their physical uh, their physical body, their mind, and the fact that they are spiritual beings. And then we elaborated a little bit on that. And right now, we are at the point where we are saying that as spiritual beings, we are choosing our experience, choosing to experience a physical life once in a while in order to shape our soul or shape our being, in order to experience, to acquire some experiences that will help us evolve.
I
Going
I
back to,
yeah,
bear with me one second, going back a little bit to what Lucy was saying, that the
sorry.
ocean is in the drop. All our discussion so far is based on the idea that we are we have an identity as a spiritual being. And maybe we do, or maybe we don't. I do not know that. But let's say we do not, in order to explore a different angle of it. If we do not have an identity, then the ocean is just creating a drop. And
Right.
has this drop choose a physical experience that will return to the source and enrich the entire source. And then maybe the spiritual being that you thought you embodied during your stay on Earth, if that's what we're talking about, maybe it just dissolves back and not to exist anymore again as this entity. It's just part of the source again, part of the ocean again.
Well, the real
But I,
question
but,
then, I'm
but
sorry.
I don't know. I don't know about that. It's just thinking that maybe we do not have any identity that can be attached to our spiritual being, or maybe we
Well,
do.
it, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, a lot. I mean, and you can get into, uh, kind of Pythagoras with this, but to keep it simple, I guess the key is to, when you say we don't have an identity or we do, you have to determine the process by which you actually arrive at identity. In other words, could it be something like downward causation?
Maybe.
Does identity emerge as a reason of like kind of like the ability for the the whole being a drop part of the ocean, but the whole being the drop being an autonomous self? There's an identity within the drop, as you were saying, but the identity would actually be something that emerges. And I would say there's an element of downward causation, but how does that downward causation then start? And is it spiritual or not? Is really the question. So is the mind governing the parts? And that's a process that occurs. To what degree? And I'd say that there's a real important part about autonomy within this that you're getting to. And I've thought about this in terms of will. To what degree do we have will over our decisions? So when you talk about the choice, when we choose, choices exist on a spectrum. There's not just choice or no choice. So there's an element that you're developing the ability to choose. And so
Everything starts at one and divides.
correct. Well,
Okay,
it
that
starts,
is
yeah.
your choice. I have to. I know you're not complete, but I have two things that I would like to
No,
say.
I'm
That
complete.
okay, you're complete. Okay, thank you. I wish you had not brought up the choice
Me too.
stuff, but because it really makes things complicated. But
Sorry
um,
about that.
no, that's fine. That's fine. Complicate things is
Don't be
complexity
sorry. Don't be sorry.
is very interesting. It's very interesting. Um, okay, first, before we go into choice, and maybe that will answer the choice part. First is, and that will double back to what Steve was saying. Where's the ocean? Knowing that the universe is me and not me. That is, if we take the universe and we divide it, there's me and there's not me, and the
That's self. Yeah.
aggregation of it makes the universe. Now, when I do that, I start with me and I divide. I am the source for the universe because I've divided me and not me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say I choose this, the moment I divide universe between me and not me, I can choose who I am or what I am. And that I can define that identity. And then that the universe decides, I mean, whatever it is, decide it. Maybe it's the ocean, maybe it's the universe. And then maybe that entity exists only for one purpose that, or for no purpose, but for at that moment when the division has occurred. I will leave this without elaborating that because that's a thought I need to ponder first. Um, there's more to this. There's a lot more to this.
There's a lot to it. It's a
How,
really important thing, though.
we can't know which one it is, but there's
It,
experiences where you get in contact with spiritual beings that have existed or that will exist as physical beings because and you get in contact with them through many different occurrences. But even that doesn't tell you that there's an identity to it because what is the origin of it? Maybe you creating them,
right.
or maybe they just exist, or maybe they just reaggregate themselves in order to satisfy your desire for recognition. When you get a message from past lives or from people that passed away or something, what is it? Is that your mind creating that entity and figuring it something to explain a message you have received? Or is that really you've seen a being that used to be and came back to you, a physical being that had an identity and then re-aggregated itself for you? Or does it exist as a multiplicity of many spiritual beings that aggregate into an ocean? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, this comes
But
back to,
it's hard to find a solid ground to be able to say, okay, well, that's this. You don't know that.
well, you're right. That's definitely true. I mean, I do think that this to some degree comes back to what we were talking about on even Wednesday. Unity is plural, minimum of two, right? The idea that I understand there's a self and another. And so that then the division then becomes, right? But then this identity, it's formed in different ways. So you're in a social group, and then you are part of that social group. And there's a relationship to the whole. So it's the drop relating to the ocean, but the drop sees itself as as a self. And that exists, I find, to be on a scale. And I do think there's intention and choice that's where I was coming in with that kind of idea is so but the reason this is actually so important is because it's how our minds work. And there's another aspect of this, and I'll throw a real wrench into it, is what does it mean to comprehend something? And then what does it mean to have meaning? Those are two important questions to be able to answer. And the reason I say that is because they the way we learn, if you will, may have this idea of we can still have an impact on the world. But then there's this idea of the self, and that's another step. And it's the idea of self within that, when I'm dividing, that's a deeper part. And the reason that's so important is because the way machines work, if you want to compare them to that, compare ourselves to that, machines can create meaning to a certain degree, and they can create things, but they don't necessarily have an idea of self yet. And that's a really important point, because without the idea of self, you don't necessarily understand relationship to the whole. And if you don't understand the drop to the ocean, then you may have a real problem with understanding relationships. So this is really important when it comes to safety issues, but it's also a deeper issue. It also makes us question what it means to be human.
It makes us
So,
question what, Joe?
what it means to be human.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes us define what it means, and so, but it's a really important thing because there's the element we're saying if we understand self-reference, then we understand the relationships between parts, and that's an important point. Versus if we don't understand that, we don't understand the relationships between parts, and then we think the drop is the ocean, and it's not, and that's problematic. I'm looking at it from a pretty mechanistic standpoint, but
Yes, I was going to say that.
It is. I mean, but that's I'm looking at it from a very yeah. I think that you're coming at it from a much deeper and I would say real perspective. I believe in the perspective that you would say, because that you're espousing. The only reason I think it's important to consider the alternative is that as machines become more powerful, that's how they operate. It's not how we operate, but it's how they operate. And that's scary because they learn like us, but they have no sense of self. And that's the problem.
Why is that a problem?
Because it's an optimization problem for them, and they don't know why they're optimizing in the first place. They don't understand how things connect together.
Okay, but who created that?
Well, I mean, that's a good question.
Well,
I mean, yeah. I mean, technically we did, but yes. But who? I mean,
I mean, yeah, but we did. But it's there. There's no way you can do away with it. And I don't think it's a
not
bad thing.
now, no.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Oh, I do.
It's like the invention of steam engine. That put out of work, and that's very limited thought, but a lot of people working in a garage with a cotton threading cotton. But does it matter? Doesn't. In
Yeah,
the end,
it's a matter of scale and what it actually means to learn. So if something that is created that is like the mind but isn't the mind, then that is dangerous. In other words, the mind can perceive the relationship between self and other in the way we look, but that's very different than something that acts like us but isn't us. It's a really dangerous thing right now because everything becomes there's a lot to it. It can discover a lot of different combinations of things. But anyway, I think the most important thing is, oh, go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
What? Say the most important thing. That's what I'd like to hear.
No, I mean, the most important thing is that we understand how to distinguish between the two. And it doesn't mean one is right or wrong. I believe the way Fred is speaking about it is the right way, the spiritual way. But I also think that there's a very mechanistic way of thinking about it, and that's how machines operate. And there's a scale aspect to that, and it's a little bit that's where I get a little nervous.
So do you have a sense of completion on what your thoughts are,
Yeah.
Joe? Okay, good. So we're like a half an hour into the call. We can continue this conversation, or we can go into our reading. I'd like to get a consensus about continuing the conversation or going to the reading. Maybe we can do that as we share our introductions. May we do that?
let me
Yes.
Fred, you have your hand up.
let me put us back to the reading by giving
I don't know that we want to go back to the reading.
I know.
So
I'm going to
Fred,
I'm going to give a parallel
Good. Fred, tell
with
us how you're
mathematics.
feeling. Tell us how you're feeling,
Okay,
what you expect tonight, and tell us whether you'd like to go back to the reading or continue the conversation, and then
okay,
pass it on. Thank you, sir.
okay. Thank you. I'm feeling deeply spiritual at this moment. These are deep thoughts, and these are very personal thoughts, and uh, they've been enriched by my experience with Lucy, and Lucy was deeply spiritual in her journey, and she helped me a lot to develop my thinking about that, my apprehension in the sense of not being scared of, but being able to apprehend. My apprehending more than apprehension, my apprehending of that domain, and I wish she was there because she was so much more knowledgeable, I would say, but that's not the right word, than I am. She would have had some very relevant and deep and unlikely perspectives that were always very enriching. Um, the parallel to mathematics is if you look behind me, you've got a sphere and you've got the universe around it. And then you have the border just behind my head. There's a mathematical process which is called the inversion of the circle, but this applies to spheres also.
Inversion of what? I'm sorry.
Inversion of the circle,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
where you take what's in the circle and you expand it into what's around the circle, and you take whatever is around the circle and you fit it inside the circle. And it's a very easy process, it's just ratios. Ratio between the point you take from the distance from the center of the circle, you take the distance from the point to the boundary,
Yeah.
and then you divide it by I mean you invert it, and you do the other process from points outside the boundary, and then you swap it inside the circle, and so the center of the circle becomes the point at infinity, which is whatever is around you,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
and whatever point was outside becomes compressed inside, and then whatever was so that's the drop and the ocean allegory. I'm often trying to represent it in my mind like this. Not just one drop gets into the ocean, but what is the drop? What is the ocean? If not, everything starts at one and divide. So that's my desired takeaway is better understanding of that. Um, and welcome to the call. And how are you feeling today? And what is your desired takeaway?
Um, okay. Thank you, Fred. What a way to begin a Sunday morning, you know, to be reminded that, we are the universe. Because if we were to say that we go back to the universe or to the ocean or whatever, that means that we were not a part of it in the first place, but we are. So if whatever I take away from our calls, that is what it is, yeah, that we are the universe, yeah. So anyway, just so welcome to my world. Here we are, making decisions and trying to develop something that is right for the kids, because people look at them as being only one component of who they are. Forget about even the rest of them. Then here we are talking about the universe, right? And so that is an inherent problem in whatever education system has been created, right? I'm just sharing with you because I went through this past few weeks. I've been not on because there's so much happening, and I just maybe I can unload here a little bit. So when we went down this path, it was and it came from that space when we were trying to, after doing all these things, we were doing that assessment for the children, and they are that that 360 degrees three-dimensional person, right? They are not two-dimensional or even one-dimensional the way the education system has done it. And so one of the things we did with the assessment is we put in existential the the quotient, right? EQ, but this is existential because we were looking at the IQ, EQ, IQ, no IQ, EQ, and whatever else, adaptive quotient, etc. So we were trying to do an assessment system. I think you're aware of that, but we put the existential inside. We don't even know what it looks like, but we did put it in. And because there is hardly any information or even data on it, and that's why it's not in Gartner's 7 intelligences. We brought that up, and now it's 8 or 9 intelligences, right? But what has happened over this past few months, actually, I think I may have mentioned that I was in Beijing and we signed with Alibaba. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Now, I just want to share with you, this is going to make our dream come true in getting the kids to be very three-dimensional, like this whole being, and also they're a being, but they're a being part of they are in the universe. Okay, so that is what's been missing, and now that you mentioned it, I realized, oh my goodness, it's what Alibaba has opened the door for us to make that change, because we're going to be. They have just called us just a few days back that we're going to be part of the company that they're setting up in Malaysia for the entertainment and media component of Alibaba expanding internationally. So that for us is a huge thing, because to get credibility to develop the kids' creativity and who they are, the empathy, the way they express themselves have been so difficult in Asia. So them coming on board has just opened that door, and the parents, instead of pushing back and said that what about the sciences and so on, the parents are like calling my one of my partners, the one who's brought Alibaba in, how can we be a part of this? Love that. I love that. And then 2 other things happened was just to round this up, because I had meetings with my team doing the environmental program, and then my environmental school, and the other is my entrepreneur school, and both we brought in Bucky. Okay,
Oh, nice.
brought in Bucky, yes. And I reminded them, on ephemeralization, and this whole cosmic integrity, the hierarchy, because my people doing the entrepreneurship, they're used to me telling them that cosmic accounting has no bankruptcy, and under cosmic integrity, the world is eternally regenerative. So it's abundant, and therefore, economically, entrepreneurially, we got to come from that space and not from what economics is telling them. So we're in good hands there. Let's see, because my team, they are my economics team, and they're thinking from that space. I'm really happy. The other one is for the environment, same thing. Ephemeralization, and then I talked to them. Now we're going to look at the Dymaxion map, and we're going to go from there and work with that, and then making use of in fact, we were talking about looking at the Dymaxion house, and then somebody reminded me that I shared with them about this Bucky's geodesic dome. And they reminded me that I came back from Vancouver saying that the next ISS is going to be flat packed, and then when into this, and then when it goes out to space, they're going to open it up into that dome, right? So they reminded me. So I'm glad to say that it's starting to really stick with my people on the ground. So I think we're going to be able to solve it very, very differently for the children, right? So thank you. And yeah, we are the universe. Other than that, we cannot, and being realism, this whole thing with AI or the computers and stuff like that, I'm like, yes, Manu, you're right. It's been around for a long time. Same dilemma, same dilemma. And, we either make ourselves extinct by destroying the environment, or we make ourselves extinct with AI taking over. Either one. It's like, it comes, is the way it works. Whether we're around or not, it really does not matter. Quite humbling when we think about that. So,
Yeah.
Richard, how do you feel? What do you want to take away today?
Well, thank you. This is coming in a little bit after the hour is caught me in the middle of a very exciting kind of discussion. The first thing I heard was experience and learn, or learn and experience. And I just had an experience a few days ago with actually a friend who was going to look after our house while we were away over some of the holidays. And it turns out he's kind of a maintenance person, a machine person, if you want, looking after a lot of properties for a youth care organization. And he grew up on a farm as a farm boy in rural Alberta. And so we were talking, he was talking about the difference between a farm fix and a correct fix or a technical fix. And the farm fix has to do with what you learn on the farm. If the machinery breaks down, you sometimes have to come up with a innovative sort of fix to last long enough for you to go and get the right part that was broken or that sort of thing. And I thought that was really interesting because it said, experience first, and you learn from the experience. And the other side was organizations who would rather hire a farm kid, or at least a kid who's been on the farm as part of his or her young life, because they know what it's like to work with experience rather than just learn from the textbook and then try and apply it in a real life situation. And it usually doesn't go so well. So it's really interesting in terms of the farm fix sort of metaphor in the area of experience and learn and experience. And but the other thing I also wanted to talk about was it's another connection with Anne and her learning experience. But I was in correspondence a while back with one of our suicide prevention trainers in Vietnam, because we're starting to do work in that area. I thought, of course, in corresponding with her, that she was Vietnamese. And it turns out she's not. She's Ukrainian, Russian Ukrainian, who's been working in the international school environment for the last 10 years. When I learned about her Russian Ukrainian background, it connected with somebody who I worked with for a long time out of Geneva, who came from this very rich Russian Ukrainian heritage back in the early 1900s and into the early 2000s. So we started to communicate along that line. And then I sent her my little presentation on the origins of the model that we're using in suicide prevention and relate it to the carbon molecule and the tetrahedral sort of structure. And then I sent her something about my effort to bring in build a common model of social work using the tetrahedron. And she wrote back to me and said the way I've used the model, she could see that it might apply to the teaching profession. And she said in teaching, there's so much emphasis put on the importance of well-being, sort of teacher well-being, kids well-being, and lots of things have been tried around teacher well-being, and they don't often work in the way that they thought they would. And she says, I wonder if your use of the Fuller model could be applied in the teaching world to give it a better chance of maybe working. And so we've committed to carrying on the dialogue in the new year. And it's another way of, I think, like you do, and is to keep introducing the fuller thinking and ideas in places where people least expect you to talk about that kind of background. and then eventually starting to see people turn in the direction of saying, "Hey, there's some practical applications that might work better than they have been in previous sort of uh, constructs and applied sort of methodologies." So I just wanted to share that because it's a fuller evening, and the stretch of the ocean is spreading around some of his ideas. And then one last thing, which is intriguing me, uh, all of a sudden with this idea that it's me and not me is the universe. Um, and I'm getting into some things that are talking about um, the individual or the self is is nothing unless there is other. So it's a group thing that might allow an individual entity to emerge. Um, and so the other has to be there in order to allow the self to surf. And so I just wonder again with the importance of words, whether the emphasis when we talk about me and not me vis-a-vis the universe is if we should be starting it with it's not me and me. It's the not me first, and then the me. Um, and Lynn Margulis, the kind of well-known microbiologist, she used that kind of approach and said that in terms of the collective and the individual, it turns out that the individual is actually an illusion. Uh, it all has to do with the collective and not the individual first. So I share that, and that's my desired takeaway is to keep exploring and experiencing the way in which we understand the me, not me universe, or is it not me, me universe? Or can it be back to what Fred was talking about too? It could be that it's a both and. You can work it both ways. And maybe that's the more important thing is to be able to have the flexibility to experience something and learn, or learn something and then experience in a way that is beneficial to others or to the rest of the universe. So, Manu, how are you feeling? What's your expected takeaway?
Thank you, Richard.
Manu.
Yup. Yep.
Okay.
Soulful Christmas. I was looking for the song. I don't know if you know of it. James Brown. Just give me a second. Soulful. Christmas. Huh. Can you hear it? Santa Claus. Straight.
I want to hear.
Can't
The
hear it.
audio's not there, Manu.
Say what?
Huh?
What? No.
The audio's not there, my friend.
I want to hear all of it.
What do you say?
The audio's not there. I think you have to actually share it from your computer and share it
Okay.
as a share.
Santa Claus goes straight to the ghetto.
Oh,
Okay.
Santa Claus goes to the ghetto. Yeah.
I will share the title for everybody to listen to. But anyway, I met as Richard the conversation, and I just jumped in writing. I put a lot in the chat. Some ideas that were popping up in my head. And I do think that we must This is my vote. Read. And I look forward to grow. That's it. And one point important that I think has been always on the plate in the chicken and egg situation is the end. It is the lag between the in and out. There's a lag between the gravitational and the radiational. I put in there is gravitational minus in, and then point lag before the out radiative. And we always minimize in the communication. And it takes many times of those, many times, to make the identifiable symbol that is multiplicative. So, in order for anything to happen, you first have to put the boundary.
Right.
So the chicken is the boundary. You need a chicken run. Eh? You know the chicken run. People who have been used to farming. You need a chicken run. Once you have a chicken run, the chicken can squawk inside and do their things, and then you're going to have the egg. Without the boundary and the lag that we on the play all the time, there's no squawking, there's no coupling, there's no egg. And then the egg goes round to feed in pattern that we recognize and which becomes a symbol. Another point that was important in discussion is the drop in the ocean. The drop and the ocean are the same in pure principle. And the drop going to the ocean, meaning a metaphor for us dying, it might be just for you to take your place in the IVM. Because when we become completely metaphysical, the body is dead. The only way we can imagine it is that IVM. You take yourself, you are now carried by the universal wave. We no more positioning. And the role of the why and how we were deployed is one, to understanding. So to be able to carry that weight, to understand the principle, and then to apply it. And application means positioning ourselves. Because you understand a flow. I know that the river flows this way, from there. Then I position myself on the river, on a raft, to be carried by the river to take me from point A to point B. Not otherwise. And that to me is our, there was discussion about if we have, how do you call it? We have a purpose. And the purpose, that one, is to align. Because you don't align, you perish. And that alignment is very important in that it is in that travel with alignment. Imagine you are on a river. You discover other parts of the banks of the river only by traveling the river. And you can't travel the river if you didn't position yourself to be in relationship to all other things that you so-called discover. And the last thing that I had here, I think I put it, okay, is in relationship to what Joe said about machines and be scared. Be scared not, because all of this has existed all the time, that there's novelty or so-called novelty. And second thing is the ignorance of the code or the sign, the real cause. That is the hidden part, which the machines don't have. We have synthesized that in emotions. That they don't have is the fatal weakness of just residing in one phase. The machines are in deduction. They are unable to do induction. Let me repeat. The machine, in spite of all their power, are in... Is somebody saying something? In the deduction mode. They are not in the induction mode. Those were my contributions in the discussions. And the next person is, has Lee been?
Not
No.
yet. She needs to unmute before she
Lee,
shares.
sorry to take all the time. How do you feel? And what do you expect?
Thank you, everyone. I am feeling pretty lousy at this point.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Health-wise, I'm close to 700 blood sugar.
Oh, geez.
It is extremely high. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's actually
Mhm.
go to the
Which means
hospital.
I need help from each and every one of you. Because right now, I am not going to leave for the hospital because all they'll do is ruin me for 5 hours of sitting around, and I will go in worse blood sugar high. And I would prefer to leave it to all of you in whatever realm of power you have within you to bring my blood sugar down. I have tried everything, including adding more and more insulin, and it's not going down. So I am going to stay with you guys, and I have faith in every single one of you to help me get it down.
Mm.
With your faith in whatever way.
And do you have any thank you for giving us the opportunity?
I do have thanks for all of you. And that's why I want to stay with you. And I give it back to you, Steve.
Joe hasn't gone yet.
Oh, he hasn't?
No.
Oh, I thought Joe did.
Maybe he did. I don't.
Maybe you should go to hospital, Lee. I do not.
I don't want to.
Before.
Yeah,
I've been
okay.
there.
And
That's
I've
what
been
I-
with her through this, and she just wastes her time in the hospital.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do either. So I
Okay.
trust Lee to not create a drama. I think she's
Okay.
in control of herself. And when it's time for her to go to the hospital, she'll know it. And she's inviting us all to send her some energy. And if that's within your realm, please do. And Lee, from our discussion so far, did you get any, have you had any takeaway or insights on what our sharing has been so far tonight?
My insight is that we each have our power within each other, each individually. But we're a unit. We are a group, and we are thinking the same. And I believe with the power of our thinking, our minds, and our universe, that you can help each and every one of us go through our despair, such as Fred with his wife dying, and of course, Richard when his wife was ill, and with Joe when his mother died. All of us unified, whether we really knew it or not. I believe we unified. And I am going to feel that from all of you. And I would like to turn it over to you, Joe. How do you feel? And what is your take? What are you wanting to see from this evening?
Thank you.
Well, what I'm wanting to see is I hope we can help you. That's number one, without a doubt. You know, and I appreciate the words that you just shared a moment ago. You know, that, you know, all of us going through different things, and how that connects us. You know, that's first and foremost. I mean, it's, and I'll just share really quickly. You know, there were a couple times, you know, my mother got to 650 years ago, and with her sugar, and so I struggled to get her to convince her to go to the hospital, and it worked out okay. You know, and so there is that. You know, so it'll hopefully, you know, it'll come down, and a lot of it sometimes also would spike when things got a little bit stressful. So, you know, and when she was in rehab for her hip was one of those times. So I'm hopeful that we can assist in making you feel better. You know, everything else is secondary to that. I'm also thankful for heat. You know, my heat went out last night. So I'm thankful for our relationships, obviously, but just needed to share that. You know, growing up, my mother or father would always, you know, tell me to pray for the people that are outside at night. And you know, and last night, I mean, it's not like I never experienced something like this, but it was cold. I mean, it was really cold in here, and I was still in a house, at least, bundled up and things like that. So thankfully, we finally got it fixed today, but it was not fun, to say the least. So I'm grateful for heat this evening, and thought and thinking about, you know, other people too. So that's the second thing. I mean, I can honestly say, I can't even go through all the stuff that I have, like from everybody's introductions. I mean, literally from every single one of you. I mean, Fred, from, you know, your example of the circle and how I could relate that to the monad. And infinity itself. And I've been thinking about that for some time. And even the idea of a scarcity mindset. It's interesting because I've been thinking about that quite a bit lately. And there is this scarcity, there's an idea of abundance and material things, but the real wealth is found in the boundary of scarcity, meaning that you're not necessarily there's an abundance, but you're able to temper your desires to overindulge. And that relates directly to Bucky in the sense that making the world work for everyone, so that there is an abundance, but you're tempering what you desire, as far as not to have more than you need. And that gets complicated. So I mean, it's not overly complicated, and so, but it gets complicated. And you know, with Richard, I mean, there were so many things that you said that actually that I could build upon, and I'll just say this, because there were like literally about 4 or 5 things. And when thinking about this, and even this idea of self, I think we need to consider 2 things. There is the deeper philosophical aspect of it. What does it really mean to be alive? And how do we relate to universe? And that is a very deep and meaningful way of thinking about the world. And then there's the mechanistic way. And the mechanistic way is much more obviously procedural. And it's not as if one were right or wrong. But one is a little bit more, can be dangerous. I mean, we understand the dangers of, say, the industrial age. We were very good with machines. And we created machines that did a lot of damage to the planet. And so now we're just creating another machine that actually has access to information. So that, in other words, to Manu's point, the idea of creating a boundary, because it can manipulate information. So that's a really important point to consider. So it's not, we can get into, what Richard was saying, what I was classifying as learn then reason, or reason then learn. And it obviously is a both and. You can't have one without the other. So that's an important point. Everything all right? If Steve needs to jump off, you need to jump off?
Nope, I'm in good shape. Leah's just reported to me she found her problem and she's going to go take care of it. So you can be with her in spirit. She is accountable and her deep knowing is in charge. And you should probably block your video because you're going to go to a private place to take care of your problem. Let me see if I'll stop your video. Oh, good, you did it. Good. Thank you, Lee, very much. Okay. Where are we here? I have a thing. All right, good. So I think it's so wonderful that we can start this phone call. The first 30 minutes, some of us joining, some people would say late to the call. I believe I'm never late for anything. I always arrive at the perfect time for my experience. So no one was late. Everybody arrived at the perfect time for their experience. So they got to drop in whenever they dropped in to hear whatever they're going to hear, to trigger whatever it's going to trigger. I think that's a wonderful thing. And I love the fact that Manu dropped in a few minutes after and just started bombing the chat with all sorts of feedback about what was going on. I thought that was wonderful. And luckily, I've been blessed to be able to multitask a little bit so I can listen to words and read words. I want to point out that I threw James Brown, Santa Goes Straight to the Ghetto. I put that link in the chat. So if you got that link, you can pull it up right now. It'll open a window, save it till after the call, or listen to the call if what I'm saying is boring. Mute me and go listen to the James Brown, because James Brown tells the truth. I believe that music is the truth. I think what's wonderful is that we can have this first half-hour call, and here we are nearly approaching 45 minutes of just reacting to the first half hour or 20 minutes of the call. I love that. I love you people. I love your spirits. I love your brains. I love your emotions. And I love being on the journey with you. I have some feedback too. I took a whole bunch of notes on everything that was being shared. I could go through and I could go through point by point, and we'd be here for another hour and a half. But I'll just say this: I heard words like need, working at solving the problem, choosing. I heard the right way, I heard even choice. I do believe I have a choice in the moment locally. I seem to have a choice, but in the bigger thing of things, I don't. To prove my point about choice, let's say I'm a drop of water. I love being ocean water. And you take my drop of water and you drop me into other water. I'm going to have certain potential for reaction. And I might have a sense of choosing locally what that might be. Drop me into oil, I'm going to have a different choices of reaction. And that's beyond, because I'm dropped in oil, it's totally beyond my ability to have any volition. My volition occurs locally within the universe, within context. Take me as a drop of water and drop me in a hot frying pan. I have a lot fewer choices, but I still will choose. I mean, I can choose to splash in the pan or choose to splash out of the pan, but I think choice is local, not an illusion. It's just not the whole picture.
Right.
And so I see the right way that you, and so what and I think Richard brought up the idea of the both and universe. This was a big, huge thing for me. I learned this from John Bradshaw. Is this an either or universe? In an either or universe, I can be right and I can be wrong. In a both and universe, I can be right and wrong at the same time. And then I'm going to challenge myself, and if you want to go along with the challenge, you can, is what if it's not a both and universe? What if it's an all and universe? What if everybody is right, even when they seem to be disagreeing with each other? So I hold this universe as an all and universe. Joe and I have talked about what is truth. It's all true. It's all true. Every bit of it is true. You can be the most insane person. You can bring up the most ridiculous concept. It's true. Locally, it's true. All true. John in the New Testament had a great parable about this because what he declared was that Jesus said, I hope you're okay with me using a Jesus parable, that Jesus is the vine and we are each the branches on the vine.
Mm.
And it's not just the vine, it's the true vine. Jesus is the true vine. That means each of us are branches of truth. So your truth is sacred. My truth is sacred. My truth is my journey. And I can be wrong, and it's still my journey. And I'm going to have it. So, gosh, I have so many. The issue with me that answers so many times, if I ever get an answer that creates closure, I say, oh, that's it. I just screwed myself. You know, answers, an answer leaves out part of the picture. And so I want answers that create openings. So, and I've loved every part of this conversation. Joe, you seem to be excited about something over there. Do you want to? Oh,
Just got I have to ask everybody this question, and Manu already answered it, but Steve, you touched upon it. Richard touched upon it, and I think it's, and you're actually, interestingly enough, just regarding choice. I just watched something on quantum mechanics, and it was exactly what you said about local and versus the how decisions are choices local. But anyway, that aside from that, if it's either or I think everything is both and there is a whole. But I think when we're talking about this topic, when it's either or, which one comes first is the real question. And that's the same thing with the idea of learning. And Manu touched upon this, is saying that you have to have a boundary first. And the immediate thing I thought of is in the beginning was the word, right? So there is a boundary per se. But that's the question I would pose, is that one of them has to come first, and that defines how we perceive reality.
okay. I don't want to interrupt your thought, but are you
I'm
complete
done.
then for now? Okay.
I totally
So what I
interrupted
want
you.
to do is I want to say, look, I think both and is an incomplete metaphor. It's an all and. And when you tell me that something needs to come first, I'm going to say, no, it doesn't need to come first. But what's true is something does come first. There's no need to come first. And maybe if I'm going to be quantum weirdo, I'm going to say, hey, every time there's a decision point in the universe, I split and I'm now in two universes. I'm doing all three of the things I thought were possible. So I just am not convinced with it's all and. And I want to create an answer that opens the door to new possibilities. And sometimes I need to close the door and say, hey, that's all I can deal with right now. I'm happy with which comes first. So, and Manu's got his hand up. I still have two more points. Manu, if you want to, you can now, or I can get complete with this. What do you want to do? Why don't I complete, and then everybody can go around and hold their second, their completeness. So look, and Manu, you said, my dear friend, if I don't align, I perish. I have a proposal for this. If I don't align, I will create a new experience. And if you want to call it perishing, you can call it perishing, but I ain't going anywhere. So if I don't align, I'll just have a different experience. That's all. And locally, I might call it perishing, but universally, I might say, hey, I just got resurrected. Hey, I'm now a completely fully enlightened being. And all the little fish around are saying, oh, geez, he perished. You know, I'm like Jonathan Livingston Seagull now. I'm up there going, damn, I'm going to go down and teach those other little fish how to fly the speed of sound. Nice. You know? So it's all relative, and I am the universe. We've talked about before, and I don't want to keep going on with this because I have a couple of resolution inspirational things going on. But I do have this one thing, you know, where I talk about, listen, there is no me without other. In other words, just like the fact when I drop a drop of water in the ocean, when I drop it into oil, when I drop it into mercury, when I drop it in a hot frying pan, I then experience myself in that context. And what I need to realize is that every experience I'm having is in that context. And if I say, oh, that's who I am, I just screwed myself. Because I'm not always going to be dropped in a hot frying pan. I'm not always going to be dropped in oil. I'm not always going to be dropped in the ocean. So I want to have a all and paradigm. Some people might call it perish. Locally, I might call it perish. Okay, so where do I go from here? So I have a couple of really cool things. Just in my mind, I think the most critical thing I can say for my contribution is forget about either or, forget about both and, go with all and. Every drop in the ocean is as important as any drop in the ocean, even though a certain drop locally will have a different context than another drop someplace else. And you guys, I have a really powerful video from Alan Watts, who was like the enlightened philosopher of the 60s for us hippies. Okay, I don't know how many of you guys remember Alan Watts, but he was like the prophet of the hippies, you know. And it's really cool. And I'm going to drop it in the thing, and I invite you all to do it. And he proposes, what if I'm God and I'm simply having a dream? And what if I could dream a dream that would last for 75 years in one night? And then I could wake up the next day and then go back to sleep, have another dream for another 75 years and have a completely different experience. And what if after being God and having all these dreams and having a dream of 1,000 years, I decided I wanted to experience need? I'd have that dream. What if I wanted to experience desperation? Because I've experienced all the other stuff, and I want to round out my experience with even more experience. So I decide to experience need. I to experience choosing. I decide to experience losing. I decide to experience desperation. I decide to experience isolation and perishment. So I'm just deciding I'm having a dream. I'm going to drop that in down here. And finally, do you guys, I believe that we are four-dimensional creatures living in a three-dimensional universe. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that, what is a dimension? Well, a dimension is a way to measure stuff, right? So I could have a 32-dimensional universe if I wanted to have 32 different rulers, right? Every time, if I have a dimension, I have a ruler for measuring that. If it's a dimension of time, I have a clock. If it's a dimension of distance, I have a yardstick or a ruler or a laser beam or something. So I believe, however, that do you guys remember the Flatlander paradigm, where the balloon appears, a 3D balloon appears in a 2D universe as a dot? And the 2D guys are going, oh, look at that dot. Then all of a sudden, the balloon starts to come up through the 2D, and suddenly it turns into a circle. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then as the balloon goes through, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it looks like a dot. Well, the dot that was the first balloon is not the same dot that's the second balloon, at the end of the balloon, as this 2D entity passes through a one-dimensional universe. What if we are four-dimensional beings passing through a three-dimensional universe? That means there are aspects of me that I have no concept of, just as there's aspects of a balloon that a two-dimensional universe has no concept of. I have an excellent video that shows how when a 4D object appears in a 3D universe, it appears as a little dot right in front of you. You'd see this little 3D dot. And then as the four-dimensional thing gets, the dot gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The balloon just gets bigger and bigger and bigger right in front of me. It's three-dimensional. And then as the balloon passes through, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So the paradigm of Flatland with 3D elements moving through a two-dimensional universe is exactly parallel with a four-dimensional item moving into a 3D universe. That's how I hold I am. I'm a four-dimensional being passing through, having a three-dimensional experience. And relative physics now, most physicists are saying, many astrophysicists are saying that a black hole, because there's no dimensionality in a black hole, it's like infinitely compressed, that all the information in a black hole actually floats to the top, and it's on the 2D surface, on the event horizon. All the information is in 2D information on the event horizon. And therefore, some people predict that we are in a black hole, that our universe is in a black hole, and that there is this two-dimensional reality that's now being hologrammed to us. And we're just having a hologram in our black hole. So I think that's kind of an interesting idea. I'm going to give you the video on four-dimensional objects passing through 3D because it actually compares the Flatland experience, and so it draws a parallel. And I'm going to drop in the Alan Watts thing. And if I have anything to leave, is just ponder an all and universe. An all and universe. And that each entity out of its nature has a choice within the context. But there is no choice. If a drop of water is into a hot frying pan, there seems to be very little choices. It's going to bounce someplace. And I think we're little drops of ocean. And while, as I said to Fred, and this is my favorite thing, while I can take the drop out of the ocean, I can't take the ocean out of the drop. And I love Fred's idea of doing a mathematical inverting a circle. That's the perfect description of me, a drop. And then sometimes I see myself as concave, and sometimes I see myself as convex. So while Manu, who has his hand up, is going to share, I think what we'll do, Manu, let's go around and do a little round of saying, okay, here's my thoughts this far. If you don't have any thoughts, say pass and just give it on to somebody else. But let's go around now and get clear and everybody get a chance to wing in. We're approaching 9:25. We've got about a half an hour left. That's about how much time it's going to take everybody to share their thing. So
Right.
I'm complete. Manu,
Is Lee okay?
how are you feeling and what's your point for what, Fred?
Is Lee okay? I
Yeah.
saw her.
Yeah, she found out what's going on and she's taking care of it. Lee, are you okay?
I'm still way above.
You're way above it. Have you fixed your device?
But I'm fixing it now.
You're fixing your device now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
it's
So
just
she has a
part-
pump, she has a monitor and a pump, and she found something wrong in the monitor and the pump. See what inspiration does to people? See how all this energy supports her and looking at the right place?
Oh, when she said, well, she just said it was way above. What do you?
Well,
Way above.
she's way above her norm. She's still in her, are you over 70 or down in her 600s?
I'm in 700.
You're in 700. So she's still in 700, but she's fixing her device and that should help.
Yeah, it'll take me about 3 hours.
It'll take her 3 hours to normalize.
To normalize.
Okay. Normalize. Okay, good. That's a local concept. In an all and universe, that's local. Okay, so I'm complete now. Let's go around for for the next little thing and see what we all have to share. Manu, how are you feeling? What are your takeaways? And then pass it on to somebody else.
To me, what Lee just said is absolutely important. She is fixing. She's locally fixing.
Yeah, that's good.
And you see what she had before. She was in a little state of panic because she read a projection, that is a reading on a device. She didn't know the cause. And she felt something. She felt bad. But she had faith, belief. And there, an impulse. Oh, maybe you have to look at that device. There might be something wrong. And she's working onto it. I can guarantee you that for the next 3 hours, she will be far positive in expectation. Having said whatever she said, that is, to me, a lot spiritual. I believe that you can act on me, that you can say things that made me better. And that better is locally. That is the first point that I have. So to me, Lee, keep on. Do that thing. But the second point is this one. Steve, you say we are four-dimensional. I would like to call the attention of everybody to the intrinsic link between dimension and turn and angle, curvature. It is absolutely linked. But more, we sometimes underplay the fundamental fact that we are in. We are in. And Steve say, I. That I today and I tomorrow. What is the proof that is the same I? I have no proof. It's just the I. So it leads me to the fact that the living energy in motion as consciously perceived by me can only be local in that local universe. So that's local of local. And it proceeds from a boundary, because only a boundary as properly defined will allow concentration or a differentiation of densities. That's what it means. Concentration to me means a differentiation of densities. That is, I start having troughs and peaks. Therefore, energy that is always flowing can flow in and fill up, that is concentrate, and flow out. In, fill up, and concentrate. And that fill up and concentrate is in lag. And my perception of it, once it concentrates and start overflowing, I cannot see any. If there was a marker, because I see markers, I cannot see that marker. I only have to wait again in lag to realize that that marker is back. Therefore, periodicity or time. So to me, time is a derivative of a third order. The first fundamental was boundary, flow in phase, a flow in lag, out, and so boundary, flow in, lag, that three. The second order is the cycle. Cycle is adding to make a tetrahedron. So initially there's a loop, a circular or triangular loop. That's all I know, which can be also the form of a boundary. I know that I want to have boundary, I have space, and space flow in and out. Something comes in that I can see, and then it goes out. I can't see anymore. First derivative is around, is a lag. There is a lag, so it goes around. So that is a cycle. That repeating cycle creates a pattern. So time is only the second derivative. It's not even the first. Because time is in the same order of derivation as timing. I'm conscious of something. I can give this stuff to count it. Therefore, I can time it. Because I can time between 0.1 and 0.2. And we talk into it in heuristic that we believe that now we can put time and space at the same level. No. And everything is relational in this universe from the fundamental fact that energy is always flowing. So energy is going somewhere. So consciousness, that is vectorial, that is structural, that goes out, irradiative, comes after awareness. Awareness is a field, is what it is. Things where the way they are, I become conscious of them. And universe is one version of what is around us. What do we understand of it? We give a meaning to it that makes sense for our relationship. And well, I can go in circle into this, but at one point you need to make an incision. That is your decision. This scission, that is discontinuity, and scission, session. So I make a decision to go one way or the other. I make a choice. That is another derivative that comes after timing. So that is the process of progress. So I decide to go this way and rather than that way. I have this experience. And then the next cycle, I, in my mind, think that this thing in which I am is a meaning that is slightly different from the one that I had yesterday, or is radically different, or is the same. And that's why we say the boundary is dynamic, it's always changing. Change happens at the boundary. We heard that expression many times. But change stems from the center. Change stems from the center. Because decision is from in out. But the manifestation of it happens at the boundary. And then I put something here. I don't know if it will help. That is diluting in the IVM to me. Life of conscious energy emotion is in universe. And universe is actually meaning the art of getting mean. The art of ego. The art of thinking of myself. The art of me. I'm through it with my I don't know what it is. It's just thing coming out of my mouth. I don't know if they make any sense or not. But I leave to Anne to say something. What do you think? What is your take from all the discussion that we've had so far?
Okay. First, from the beginning, when y'all talked about the whole spirit and all that, right? I still remember the one that I really, really will take away, because we end the year, that I will take away is from what Steve spoke about. It's very, very strong. I know I brought it up, but I really want to leave with this, about vibration, and that our appearance is based on our vibration. It's our vibration forms our appearance, rather than well, like we think that we are being formed. But I like that. I like that that part of that fact could be that we are formed based on our vibration, appearance wise. And the last thing I just want to add is this. This whole thing with well-being and all that, I've been through education for so long, and I think, Richard, you know what I'm talking about. And people forever talking about the kids' well-being, the teachers' well-being, the kids' well-being, the teachers, never ending. At Cambridge U itself, I was there in the UK about more than 10 years ago for one of their conferences. They're talking about well-being, students and teachers' well-being. And the problem is the decision that they made is still not on the children's well-being and teachers' well-being. The minute you put a lot of emphasis on the academic results, you like it or not, the well-being will never, never come into play. So it's all talk. And that what makes me really annoyed, So right now, when we are working towards the kids to be very expressive, etc., it's a way for them to release, the stress that they go through academics. And that day when I did the talk with the parents, and the one or two, the odd ones out, they were really happy with me about this, because they said, what about the science? What about the science? We're here for the science. We want the kids, to do well in our sciences. So why are you talking so much about the arts, right? And I had to, lucky because of our meeting, I said, you know what? Music is science. The harmonic scale, So I brought that up, and the fact that light and sound, their vibration, and also the waves, and that you use sound for healing and you use light for healing. So that kind of put the things into a different perspective for them, because at the highest level of science, music, light, for whatever we use them for, they're figure prominently, including, and I shared what Susan said, like you remind us, like ultrasound and far infrared and laser, all these things are being used in the medical sector, and it's also for healing. All right, so that would be my biggest takeaway towards the end of the year, and and wishing everybody Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Passing it on. So, Fred, how do you feel, and what is your takeaway today?
I'm feeling complete. That's how I'm feeling. And I have too many takeaways, but I shared already a lot at the beginning, so I don't need to add to that. Just one thing. Kelly used to do what Steve was doing, is taking notes, writing words on a piece of paper at the beginning of the meetings, and he used to say that everything was in our words. And I very much appreciate Steve doing that. And I think it relates to my experience on this Friday, and my experience also in many other instances, is that you have to be very, very, very careful when you meet somebody for the first time, because it's been my experience that very often everything from that point on, everything at that meeting, at that first encounter, is there. Everything in the relationship with this person is already there. And following a subsequent relationship, I mean, the following of a relationship or subsequent meeting are just an expansion of that. So, as Kelly used to say, everything in the words at the beginning of a meeting when somebody shares how you're feeling and what is your desired takeaway, I think it's more general than that. When you meet somebody for the first time, everything is already there. It's like a seminar meeting where it's a starting point and everything stems from that outwards. So that's my takeaway. Where are we at? Richard, have you been through already? Richard, how you feel and what is your desired takeaway today?
I think I have. Well,
So sorry about that.
my
I
takeaway
pass
is
it on to somebody. Oh, okay, go ahead. You go ahead.
well, part of my takeaway is connected to upcoming take up, which is to have a bit of an evening with family who live in another part of Canada and a member of family who was going to go to Sweden for part of the holidays. And so we're setting up a FaceTime in the next few minutes, actually. So a takeaway is the anticipation of that connection. And as to say, I'm mulling over what Steve is talking about in terms of the all and the mystery of holism, and the more we separate out or divide to understand, the more we should at least realize the mystery of the whole, that the accessing preciseness, accessing predictability in a linear kind of way that we've been taught through the so-called machine sort of paradigm of understanding things is something I'm trying to continue to contain, and the importance of it, but be able to stretch beyond it in understanding something else. And I'm really interested now in the notion of if energy or spirit or something like that is the ground, then something like physical then becomes meta energy. It becomes manifested energy, and it's not the foundation that we sometimes think physical is, in the sense that we talk physical, and then beyond physical to get to the mind is called metaphysical. So that's telegraphing the idea that physical is the ground. And if it isn't, then we need to find another word for the whatever the ground is. And we talk a lot about energy and spirit and that sort of thing. And so I'm beginning to feel, in my takeaway, that I'm going to use energy as I was going to say metaphor, but I think Manu would challenge that and say, energy is not a metaphor. It is. It is. It is real. It is something. But anyway, then I would say physical is meta energy. And now I've got the right, in my own mind anyway, I have the right sort of expansion of the base. So that's my takeaway, is to keep mulling over that idea, plus the one that allows us to oscillate, if you want, between universe is all that isn't me and me, or it's me and all that isn't me, is to really get that dance going between the two ways of understanding that wholeness. So that's my takeaway. Who have we got? Lee, are you in a place now where we can talk about your takeaway?
And you want to
Well, luckily, I remembered to unmute. He reminded me. What I wanted to show you, and I want you to know that it is not my idea, but look at that arrow where it says high. It's still very high, but there is an arrow that is not pointing straight down, but at a slant. That is the way it should be going. Otherwise, I could be in great trouble in a matter of half hour where I could go too low and it be in worse position than I am in now because I could pass out and be on the floor. But it can still happen. I have no control over it now. I changed out the whole machine. I have new insulin. I have new everything, a new spot, and it's bugging the heck out of me where I had to put it. But I feel good now, and I am grateful for your energy. You all have sent your energy to me, and I felt it. And I am grateful for whatever God you have for sending you that energy, making that energy within you that you could share it with me. That is my takeaway for this whole evening, since I only heard a portion of most of the talks. I was too into myself. So I do feel good. And I give it back to Steve. Steve, how do you feel and what is your takeaway?
Is everybody, you want to mute? Has everybody else taken? Because I've been busy making more
Joe?
notes, Fred.
I haven't
Joe?
gone.
Good, Joe. Go for it.
I mean, again, Lee, I just hope that that works out. Comes down soon and appropriately, I should say, as well. May I ask what your baseline is?
My baseline.
Hang on, you're muted, so unmute. I muted you, I'm sorry.
My baseline is 30 per day.
No, for your sugar.
Sugar level.
It should be like you 100.
Yeah, that's I just wondered, if it ran, sometimes it runs a little high. But I mean 700 is strategy.
Way too high.
Well, I mean that's I mean it's usually about 120, 140, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even if you get to 200, it's high.
It's very high at 200. And being 700, when it shows 700, I knew I was in trouble.
I've only seen that, a couple times.
But having an arrow come down on my pump showing, whereas it didn't have that arrow, it was going straight up. And it was going further and further up. And so that scared me tremendously.
Scared all of us.
What's that?
And it scared all of us in a way. I mean,
Yeah, it's deadly.
I know.
In fact, people who have ever seen me in that position say, how in the world are you talking to me? You should be comatose.
That's right. Yeah. I mean,
I'm blessed I'm blessed. I really am blessed within my soul. And I'm very grateful for that.
I'm grateful. We're all grateful. Um,
Thank you, Manu, for dancing without me hearing your music. I could see you dancing. That gave me energy. So give it back to Joe. Go ahead.
um, yeah, I mean, I think that I shared most of what my takeaways, as um I guess I feel a little the only thing I would say is that I feel, and I know Fred, you didn't take it this way, but I feel a little bit badly that I turned mechanistic on you in my thinking. So that wasn't necessarily ideal. Um, especially the context in which you talking about this. Because I see it the way you do. But my mind has been going towards that very mechanistic way of thinking lately, only for a lot of different reasons, for obvious reasons that I need not go on. But I'm I'll just say, that since this is, I won't see everybody before the holiday or anything like that. I'm just going to express gratitude because just listening to everyone gave me a lot of different perspectives. It is disconcerting about, hearing, about 700 being sugar, but that's meaning we'll keep you in our thoughts, and I'm just grateful for everybody here, to be quite honest. Steve.
Okay. Everybody's complete. You know, what's amazing to me is we have a 20-minute discussion and takes us an hour and a half to go through it all. I'm so blessed to be with people who acknowledge their unique perspective and the importance of being who I am. So thank you all for being you. I love and what you're doing with the kids. Wow.
Yeah.
I want to write a book and make a contribution to that. We'll see if that ever happens, but we'll go from there. I I've really I'm just going to really stress that I put in the comments that there's a Mormon or a Masonic mantra. If you guys know the signs of the Masonry is the right angle and the compass, right? And what the interesting, the right angle is cool because it talks about having orthogonal relationships. And I raise my hand to square when I'm making a promise. It's like culturally evident because this orthogonal 90-degree thing is so significant in terms of how human beings relate to each other. But the mantra is that the compass signifies that all truth will one day be circumscribed, thank you, into one great whole. And as I pondered that for 35 or so years, what I came to realize was that all truth is already circumscribed into one great whole, and it's my brain that doesn't see it. So I challenge myself consistently to be in an all and universe. I think that's a profound way to go. And my final share will be our seasonal schedule. But before I go, I would like to read a poem or a song by Richie Havens. And I'm going to stick it in the chat right now so you can read with me as I go. I'm also including a link to the tune because it's so powerful. But the song is called Prayer by Richie Havens. I don't know if you guys know who Richie Havens is, but in Woodstock, uh, it was his turn to share, and the next band that was coming in um, was late. The helicopter was tied up with weather or something. They couldn't get access to the road, so they had to go to an airport, go to a helicopter, and drop them off at the site. And they turned to Richie Havens and said, "Play something." And so he went for half an hour, and he just on the spot spontaneously created the song Freedom. And if you listen to the Woodstock album, you'll see Richie Havens banging away on his guitar singing Freedom, Freedom. It's really cool. There were other highlights at Woodstock, including Joni Mitchell wrote the tune Woodstock. I was walking along the road. I am stardust. I'm golden. I'm billion-year-old carbon. And I've got to get myself back to the garden. Joni Mitchell. But here's a song that Richie Havens wrote. I'm going to post it in there right now. And I really want to read. It's a short poem. To all those outside the inner side. This goes to Fred's reference to the circle with stuff outside the circle and inside the circle, and I get to invert it and do all sorts of things. To all those outside the inner side, let not your heart be heavy. There are those who understand. It is not easy. It is not easy to tell a lie. Now, see, I've pondered that, and what I realize is the lie could be no one is outside the inner side. Everybody's on the inner side, but some people think they are, and they're living a lie if they don't see themselves inside. That's just my interpretation. You ponder it, see what it means to you. To all those inside the outer side. So now we're inverting, right? Let not your head be heavy. You're the guy thinking that. At least you know there's a circle, but you think you're on the inside. That's a joke. That's a cosmic joke. There are those who understand it is not easy to know what to do. I just love this. And finally, he says, to all those who understand, let not your words be heavy. There is one who understands. It is not easy. It is not easy to be a mother and a father. I just love this. I love this poem. When I do Native American sweat lodges and medicine circles, I usually bring up this prayer at the end of each of the ceremonies because I think it's such a profound invitation to be all that I am, to live in an all and universe. Thank you all for being who you are and for letting me share. I'm complete. Now, how about go with Fred. We're going to go for schedule.
Yeah,
Fred, do you want to bring something up?
I wanted to remind you the schedule before. I thought you were already
good. No, good. So how about our schedule? On the Wednesday call, we're taking off 2 weeks. I don't necessarily like taking off weeks, but I want to respect everybody's time on the holiday weekend. I know that most of us are celebrating a Christmas season. All of us celebrate a New Year, hopefully. Some of us celebrate 2 New Years, Chinese and Western. Fred, do you read kanji? Do you read Chinese?
No.
Because you bring up, every once in a while, you bring up kanji. You might understand. I love the ideograms.
I have software that does that for me.
I love Chinese ideograms because they allow for contextual interpretation, right? So anyway, cool. Thank you.
I love them because they're very useful to temper them a little bit, to temper the abuse of English language using like the spelling of a word as an acronym for meaning something. I mean, I find this so ridiculous that I use.
Right. Wonderful. So how are we? Do you guys want to take 2 weeks off? And start? Nope. You don't want to take time off. I don't want to take time off. Who else? Who wants to take some time off? I think Richard's got family coming. How are your? I know, Richard, you're on a Saturday night thing with us. What do you think, Richard? Are you able to comment on your availability over the holiday? We have maybe 2 proposals for not taking a break. Although the new year could be something special for everybody. Feedback, comments, questions?
Can I have a suggestion?
Please.
I think if you don't want to take time off, we maintain the call. We see who shows up, and then we have this free discussion. We don't move on the book so that nobody misses out. Okay. And you show up, you don't show up, and then we see where it goes.
Okay, that'd be cool. And listen, in my family, if I may share personally, I had 5 kids with my first wife. We were married for 26 years. She was an angel who was to be the mother of my children, and it's been a blessing. She got Christmas, and I got New Year's. So I think that's wonderful. I have a New Year's party every New Year, and we go through what's going on for us in the new year, and it's a good time to like clean stuff out and just really introspect. So Fred says we have a call every weekend, see who shows up, start with a free form thing, see what happens. All those in favor, either just wave your hand
Or show up.
anybody say, yeah, go ahead. And you have you're in
Yeah,
favor?
I'm just saying I'm around.
Good.
I'm around because I think this year, the Christmas and New Year being in the middle of the week,
Yeah.
it's kind of, usually it's crossing over the weekend, so that's why we normally take time off. So, but yeah, I'm around.
Cool. I like it too.
I'm just
Bill?
busy on the 27th. That's all.
Okay. We'll
Is
miss
that a
you.
Sunday?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
you guys can go.
Yeah, that's a week from tonight. That's a Christmas weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't wait for me. I mean,
Fred,
Yeah.
do you see how you decide you influence undecided?
I cut.
And that's the way life goes, decision.
I cut.
A
Decide.
change is always made by a few brave men.
yeah.
Cool.
A few brave.
Reality,
Everybody's sitting there.
reality is created by agreement.
Or by
Well,
accident.
agreement comes, and then we are discussing the chicken and egg stuff. Yes, there's an agreement, but somebody it came from somebody, from Fred in this case.
Cool.
I very much like Richard's view of the chicken and an egg. One week you look at the chicken and an egg, and the next week you look at the egg and chicken.
And let me share something. Let me share something briefly with you, because I have a friend who is a politician and is very smart. He is a systematic of long meetings. So, and during the meeting, he doesn't intervene too much. He just does the thing for a long meeting. In the end, everybody is tired. Then he come up with a bright idea and everybody agrees. It works. I can guarantee it works.
You should learn from your friend.
Yeah, it works.
Okay.
One more thing, Steve, before we go.
Yeah.
Is that okay to scan your notes from the beginning and send it out together with the recap?
All these notes here?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they're just like brain farts.
I'm a sucker for brain farts.
Yeah. I will, I'll take a picture of these.
Yeah, they're pretty
Because if I
good,
start to
actually.
transcribe them, I will go
No,
into oblivion.
don't,
It'll take me a
don't,
month
no,
to
no.
transcribe these.
Don't
Like,
transcribe it.
Okay.
I'll
Don't
send a
sanitize
picture.
it.
I'll take a
If you-
picture and I'll send it out.
Do
Okay.
not
Steve.
sanitize it. Yes.
Yes. Let
Manu.
me suggest one more thing. I give you a challenge.
Yeah.
All right. Please, you remember that your list of recording, the
Yeah.
links. Update them to like today
Okay.
and send them around again.
Here's the
Because I'm
thing.
not that good. I'm not that good at organizing them.
Keeping track. Okay. So gives me an opportunity to confess. Fred did a great job of recording and sending me links. I've got a zip file on my computer and I've yet to process all those links. So my commitment is over the next 2 weeks. Before the first of the year, I will go through and process all that stuff. I'll put them in the list for the year and I will send out as soon as I get one ready. I think the Wednesday meetings, I think, are pretty close to being done. But as soon as I get either the Wednesday meeting or the weekend meeting done, I will send out that sheet to everybody so that you can take your time over the holiday, if you have time over the holiday, and blow your brains out with all of our arguing.
Thank you.
Because
Okay.
we say a lot of BS and also a lot of good things. And a lot of good things stems from BS.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
speak
so
for
true.
yourself, Manu. Speak for yourself.
So
I
true.
never give BS, dude. Everything I say is the absolute truth.
That's right.
I want
That's
you to
the-
know that. And
the
if you don't
all.
think so,
That's
you have
the
a
all
problem.
that you were done.
No, I'm just saying BS is manure.
All right.
Yeah.
I will. I will let you.
Did you say that
I
BS
will let
is-
you politicians finish that meeting without me. Bye bye.
Manu just said it. BS is Manu. That's what he said. I just heard him.
No, I say it's manure. Manure.
Oh, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you all so much for being here.
Okay.
Okay.
I hope I'm as
Merry Christmas.
I hope my BS is as good as Manu's. Okay. Peace to everyone.
Take
Yes,
care.
me too.
Okay,
Bye.
Richard.
Keep us
Bye.
posted about Lee.
She'll be good.
No, Lee, you're gonna be fine.
She'll
I'll
Yeah.
call
be
you.
fine.
I'll
Listen,
call you in the week.
she's a superhuman. Honestly, nobody at the hospitals can ever believe how she had babies,
Oh, yeah.
how she has lived to be 77 years old when she's type 1 diabetic from the beginning, or from 7 years old or something. How old were you when you discovered?
7.
7. No one can believe her. I can't believe her. That's why I let her, she does whatever she wants around here.
You can't believe, she can't believe, but it's belief.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Well, with all of your powers, I will. It's going to be real difficult. Right now, I'm going through hell because I'm dropping. I'm dropping rather quickly, and that is pure stress on my body, and it
Mm.
hurts.
What's your number now? What's your number now?
Oh, it's still 400.
Oh, I see. But I thought but you were up in
Drop.
7s.
Yeah, but it's now switched from being on the right side to the left side,
I
which
see.
is something I'm not familiar with.
Oh, wow.
And it is sending a lot of pain
Yeah.
in my body. And I probably will have to stay up all night so
Oh,
that
really?
I know
Yeah, you're
before
okay.
before I get to the point of death,
Okay.
I will know
Oh.
it.
No.
All right, good. Okay, everybody.
All right. Take care.
Peace. I wish
Thank
Richard were
you.
here to give his parting
Thank
words,
you.
but
Take care.
we'll continue our weekend calls.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.